Greetings and salutations, everyone. I am, as always, Darth Devious, bringing you another video review. This time we'll be starting my special look at the Tolkien universe with the Bilbo Baggins figure from the Bridge Direct from the Hobbit movie, An Unexpected Journey. And as I get towards the end of this video, we're going to start my look at Middle-earth history. So I hope some of you find this fascinating. Let me know. We'll take a quick look at the packaging here. You got a nice picture of Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins. Figure in there. This is the 6-inch class figure. Now I say 6-inch class because he's obviously not 6 inches tall. He's closer to 3, which is actually in scale with the other figures, so that's nice. On the back you can see, product shots and some other figures. Now I do have Thorin and I have Gandalf, so they'll be coming up. There's a little bio if you want to read it, if the camera will focus on it enough. If not, not important. Anyway, I'm going to get him out of the package. We'll take a quick look at him so that we can delve into the history of Middle-earth. Be right back. Alrighty, I have Mr. Bilbo Baggins out of the package, holding his lovely sword, Sting. And he does have a scabbard for Sting right there, and Sting does fit in there very nicely. Got his accessories on him, his water jugs and his backpack. Nice little details on him. Hairs on his feet. He has big feet like all hobbits. Really nice representation of Martin Freeman's face here. Did a pretty good job with the sculpt. I will give him that. Head's on a really nice ball joint. He can look up, down, all around. Even give some just emotive head nods like, It's got swivels at his wrists, elbows. All the nice posability you would expect from a modern day action figure. Nice soft rubber on this coat, and this can come off. Not on the arms, but this part can come off. I'm not going to take it off, just show you that, but So he's a pretty cool little figure. I like him. Not bad at all. Sting is really nicely detailed. It's kind of thin, so if you get it, be careful with Sting, because it's not like a soft rubber. It is harder plastic, so you could break it. You don't want to do that. Trust me. So yeah. Now, since he's such a small, simple figure, I'm going to just jump right into the Middle-earth history part. And I'll mess around with Bilbo more as I'm talking, so that way it's not quite so boring. And I will admit to you guys, this is actually going to be like the second or third time I'm doing this, because it was sounding pretty boring. So, with that, we will go into the Middle-earth history. Okay, we're going to start at what is probably, I'm going to admit, one of the more boring parts of the Middle-earth history, but it is sort of background information that is kind of necessary. Now, we're starting with the very beginning of all things, of how Earth was created in Tolkien's world, and the Valar. Well, who are the Valar? The Valar are pretty much the gods and goddesses of Middle-earth. They live in a land called Valinor, which was at one time a continent that was part of Middle-earth, but was removed after men from the island of Numenor were tricked into attacking Valinor. All this will be revealed much later. I'm just giving you general now. We'll get more specifics as we go on. Now, the Valar themselves were created by the supreme being, Eru Ilúvatar. And he created the Valar and their lesser beings, the Maiar. So you figure the Valar are more like the gods, and the Maiar are the angels, so to speak. And it's sort of like the Greek pantheon, where each god and goddess had a specific thing they focused on. I'm not going to go into all their names. It'd be a long list. The only one you really need to know by name is Melkor. Melkor was the very first of the Valar that came into existence. And he was also the most powerful. Now this created a problem. He wanted Ilúvatar's power. He wanted pretty much to rule, which the other Valar did not want to do. And basically he is the creator of all evil in Middle-earth. Now, after Ilúvatar created the Valar and the Maiar, he then started to sing a song that was his idea of what the earth should be. And as the Valar were singing the song, Melkor put a discordant tune in there, which caused some fighting. And as soon as Ilúvatar stopped singing, because he grew angry with the fighting that was going on, the earth was created with both the good and the evil. The evil, of course, that Melkor put into it. As to the races on Middle-earth, only Ilúvatar could give life to any of the races. The first race to show up on Middle-earth were the Elves. They are also known as the Eldar, because they are the first. Men came second. Now, Ilúvatar decided to make the elves immortal. He thought it was a curse for them to be immortal, because they would have to deal with the long weariness of life. Whereas he decided to give a gift to men and have them have shorter lifespans, which he felt would make them embrace life more, because they could die. Valinor itself was named the Undying Lands. Now, only those who were immortal could dwell there. There were just very few exceptions to that. So that's why when the elves say they're going to the west, that's where they're going. They're going to Valinor. They're going to the Undying Lands, so they can spend the rest of their existence with the Valar. The exceptions to that were, of course, Bilbo, Frodo. Eventually Sam would go over, and though it's not 100% proven, there is strong evidence that when Gimli got really, really old, Legolas decided to leave Middle-earth and took him with him. Those are the only beings that were not immortal that were granted immortality in Valinor. They couldn't come back to Middle-earth, but, they would live there, never dying, never growing any older. And it was sort of their reward for their service in the War of the Ring. Especially Frodo, because he had it the roughest. Yeah. So, Valinor had on it 2 trees that created all the light for Middle-earth. And Melkor, desiring the power, as I said, teamed up with Ungoliant, the giant spider demon. And Ungoliant, Melkor weakened the trees, and she drained their sap, which killed the 2 trees. plunging the world into darkness. The elves managed to capture the last bit of light into jewels known as Silmarils. Now, during the first age of Middle-earth, which we'll discuss at length in the next chapter, Morgoth went after the Silmarils and eventually caused what is known as the War of Wrath, which brought around the end of the First Age. Now, as to the Maiar themselves, the Maiar being lesser beings, each one sort of was like, they would go with certain Valar. Like those who liked the ocean would go with the Valar that was in charge of the oceans and stuff like that. And Melkor had his own Maiar, his favorite. And we'll get into all that. As for Melkor himself, he became known by another name. Eventually, he became known as Morgoth, the Enemy. And we'll get into him in the next part. So that's about all you really need to know about how Middle-earth was created. Is, Iluvatar sung the song, the Valar kind of helped make that song manifest itself as the Earth, and their own continent of Valinor was part of the Earth. Eventually, Valinor was removed from the Earth because of the men from Numenor. All the specifics, all that, we will get to. I promise. I will try and keep these brief, try and keep them interesting. Like I said, this part was probably the hardest. The next part will go a little bit faster because I'll get into more about, what happened to Morgoth. And then I'll do a part on Maiar. I'm going to do a part on where the wizards came from. And by the time we get near the end, we'll be dealing with, how the rings of power were created, how Sauron tricked everyone, and all that other good stuff. So, hopefully you guys will find these informative and interesting. And if you really want to know more, read the books, read the appendices from the Lord of the Rings, read the Silmarillion, look it up on Wikipedia, though some of the Wikipedia accounts do contradict themselves, so be careful with that. Otherwise, that'll do it for all this. I recommend this Bilbo figure. He's really cool. And we'll take a look at Thorin Oakenshield in the next one, and we'll talk about the first age of Middle-earth. Till then, be good.